Very low. I can't hear you so well. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I hear you. Yes.
Okay, I got my headphones. Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. Second.
This is my partners from work.
Hello.
Hello, Rabbi. How are you? This is Rabbi Gestedner, very, very special man from Toronto. Everybody's listening. Okay, go ahead, Rabbi Gestedner, go ahead.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be back, everyone, to be with the boys. I hope everyone is doing well and is staying safe and healthy. And in Mitzvah Hashem, we'll be able to see each other together soon. So last year we discussed the issue of carrying. On Shabbos, we know one of the 39 malachas, a person is not allowed to carry on Shabbos in a public area. So we discussed, is a hearing aid or a implant considered carrying on Shabbos? And we spoke about different scenarios where a person, if his hearing aid stops working, so it's not considered a functioning piece of equipment, and what he should do if he is...
I need to focus, and I can hear you now. Okay, go ahead.
So we spoke about what to do if someone's hearing aid stops working, and he is in a Rishus HaRabim on Shabbos, how he can continue walking in Rishus HaRabim so he doesn't have to take off and lose his hearing aid. I want to discuss today the issue of muktzah. How do we treat hearing aids and hearing devices and implants regarding the issue of muktzah? That will be today's discussion. Muktzah on Shabbos. So we know that there's the Torah told us that there's 39 things that 39 different malachas a person cannot do on Shabbos. And besides for the 39 malachas, the Chazal, the Rabbanan, they added on many more restrictions. They added many more restrictions and isurim that a person cannot do on Shabbos. One of those isurim is called muktzah. What is muktzah? People sometimes don't always categorize muktzah properly. Muktzah means something that Chazal felt, because it is not something which was designated for use of Shabbos, so they felt a person should not be moving it on Shabbos. They should not be moving different things on Shabbos that are not necessary for Shabbos. And the reason why Chazal said this is asur is for a few different reasons. The Rishonim give different reasons. Either because they were worried you might come to do malacha with that object on Shabbos, or some say because they felt you might come to carry that malacha on Shabbos. Some say, the Rambam says, maybe Chazal just felt to differentiate, and they wanted to make Shabbos special and different than all the days of the week. So they said that a person should stay away, a person, in theory, would stay away from all the...
What did you say the last point? What? That the person should stay away from what?
In theory, it's possible for a person to stay away from all 39 malachas in Shabbos and still have pretty much a regular work day. He could go to the office, he could walk to the office, he could talk in business, he could basically have a regular day without...
I couldn't hear you. What did you say? Say it again. Sorry.
Without the Isser of Muktzah, Chazal felt that a person could essentially have a regular weekday workday. He could walk to the office, he could talk in business, he could make deals, he could even touch equipment, and you won't feel like it's Shabbos because technically he didn't break any of the 39 malachas. So the Rambam said to differentiate Shabbos from weekday, we said that there's something called muktzah. And muktzah means not to use anything that wasn't specially designated for Shabbos use.
I got it. Go ahead.
Now, Hilchos Muktzah is extremely long and complicated topic, and I'm not going to get involved in the whole Hilchos Muktzah today. Mitzvah Shem, one day we'll do it, but not today. I want to focus very much just on Muktzah as it pertains to hearing aids and hearing devices, and how do we treat them on Shabbos. So I want to discuss, there's three very important, there's more than three, there's many different categories of Muktzah, but today we'll be discussing three different categories of Muktzah. One category of Muktzah is what we call a Kli Shemalachtai L'Isser, which means it's a utensil, it's a vessel, which its main purpose is Isser. What does Isser mean? Either it does something that's Asr to do on Shabbos. For example, a person has a blender, electronic blender, or a grater, or any type of machinery. This machinery is doing things that's Asr on Shabbos. So since the primary use of the machine is something that's Asr to do with this machine on Shabbos, the machine itself turns Muktzah. And not only can't you do those things, let's say you have a electronic blender. So of course you can't blend on Shabbos because that will be one of the Lamates Malachas. You can't blend on Shabbos, but you can't even move that machine. That machine cannot be moved. It's called a Kli Shemalachta L'Isser. It's a Kli whose primary use is Isser, is prohibition, and therefore you're not allowed to move that Kli on Shabbos. The second type of Muktzah I want to discuss today is Muktzah, we call Muktzah Machmas Gufay, which means that it's something, Muktzah Machmas Gufay.
Muktzah
Machmas Gufay.
Explain what it means.
What that means is something is Muktzah not because its use is Asr. It's Muktzah because it has no use. It has no use. There's nothing to do with this thing. For example, a person finds a rock on the street, a piece of rock. So typically a rock is something that has no use for it. So it's Muktzah.
What do you find to the street?
A rock or a stone, a rock or a stone.
Yeah.
A person wants to touch earth. Something which has absolutely no use, a piece of wood that's just hanging around, not doing anything. These are all things that we call Muktzah Machmas Gufay, which means they have no use. And because they have no use, Chazal said that's also Muktzah and it cannot be moved. A third type of Muktzah we're going to discuss today is what we call Muktzah Machmas Chisaren Kiss.
Okay, go ahead.
Which literally means a Muktzah because it's very valuable. Something which is Muktzah because it's very valuable. What does that mean? It's Muktzah because it's very valuable. That means there's certain items where a person, he finds it's very special to him. Even a person has a very special, the Gemara talks about, let's say, the mayil, a person who's a mayil, who does milah. So he has a very special knife. And that knife he's very careful with it. He doesn't let anyone touch it. He keeps it in a very special place. It's very, very miyuchad. It's very, very special and dear to him. and he's makbid that no one should touch it, no one should do anything with it. He only uses it on occasion whenever he has the need to use it. That's called muktzah machmas chisaron kis, and that cannot be moved on Shabbos either because of the third category of muktzah. I want to now explain to you what is the difference between the three categories. Again, let's get clear. What were the three categories? The first category was a kli shemalachtai le'isser, which means a vessel which is used primarily for malachas, which is used for isser. That's number one. Number two is a muktzah machmas gufay, something which is muktzah because it has no use. And number three was a muktzah machmas chesaron kis. It's a muktzah because it's something that's very special and dear, and you treat it's very special to you. You don't use it unless you have to, and that's the third type of muktzah. Now, what's the difference between these muktzahs?
Difference between the three of them. What's the between each? Okay.
Right. So the rule of muktzah is muktzah means that you cannot move the object. That's all it means. Muktzah means you cannot move the object. You're allowed to touch the object. You can look at the object, but you can't move it. Moving it is asur. That's the isser. The isser is to move the object. Now, there are certain times Chazal said that even though something is muktzah, you could move the object. For example, let's go to the first category. The first category is kli shemalachtai le'isser, a vessel whose primarily use is for isser, for something which is asur.
Okay, sorry, 1 second. Okay, move, go ahead. What?
Kli shemalachtai le'isser, the first category, a kli that's used primarily for isser. Chazal said you could move it l'tzarech gufay or l'tzarech mekaymai. What does that mean? That means that you're allowed to use that object if you actually need it. For example, let's say a person has a hammer. He has a hammer. So a hammer is a kli shemalachtai le'isser. So it's muktzah. You cannot move a hammer. It's asur to move a hammer on Shabbos. But let's say a person, he has a very hard walnut. He wants to eat a walnut, and he can't get it open. So you're allowed to go ahead, but you cannot crack the walnut open. It's very hard.
Yes.
So you're allowed to go ahead, take the hammer, and smash the walnut to get the nut out. That's what we call.
1 second. Yeah, go ahead. So what? So
that's called tzarech gufay. You're allowed to use the muktzah for itself. I need it. I need the muktzah. So that would mean if you're just moving it away because it's in your way, it's on a table, and you're not happy that you don't like the.
1 second. Sorry, I think I missed the point. You said that let's say you need a space. So what do you need? You need to move the hammer for itself because you need to use it to open something.
So let's say a person he has a hammer on his desk. He doesn't like it. Doesn't like a hammer on his desk. It doesn't look nice. He wants to move it. That's asur. He doesn't need the hammer. He just doesn't want the hammer to be there. So that's not a reason. That's asur to move. Yeah?
Yeah.
But if you need the hammer, like you want to crack open the nut, that's tzarech gufay. You want to go ahead with it.
Yeah, mistakes. Okay, go ahead.
The second type of way you're allowed to move muktzah is if it's a muktzah machmas isser, kli shemalachtai le'isser, a kli that's used primarily for isser. The second heter to use it is to use it for tzarech mekaymai, which means that you need the area where the muktzah is. For example, you're trying to set up a big Shabbos table, and the hammer is in someone's place. I need to eat there. This is my place where I eat. This is where I eat. So the hammer is in my way. So since I need that place, I'm allowed to go ahead and move the hammer away and use that place. So this heter of moving a kli because you need the kli, for example, to break open the nut, or because you need the place, is only by kli shemalachta le'isr. It's only by the first type of muktzah. It's only by the muktzah of a kli which is primarily used to do isr. Right? So then we say there's 2 times you're allowed to move the kli. But in the other 2 types of muktzah machmas gufay, like the stone, the rock, over there, you cannot take a rock and use the rock to smash open your nut. Because that rock is not a kli shemalachta l'isser. It's not a vessel that's used for isser. It's just something that generally has...
What? Okay.
So since the rock is not considered a kli, it's not a vessel that's used for isser, it has no purpose at all, so therefore you cannot move it even for tzarach gufa and tzarach mekayma. You cannot move that rock at all. And so too by the 3rd category of muktzah. By a person has a muktzah machmas chasar and kiss. Now even if the kli in the muktzah machmas...
Sorry, I should close the door. I can't hear. סגור. אוקיי. טלפון. יגאל, תזכור את זה. יגאל, בזכות השיעור הזה, הצלחה. אמן. אוקיי.
So the 3rd type of muktzah we said is a muktzah machmas chasar and kiss, which means a muktzah, which is something which is very special to you. So that even if the muktzah is a kli shemalachta le'isr, it could be both. You can have something which is very special to you, and it's also a kli which does isr, right? For example, a person has a very expensive machine that he uses just for very specific things. So that is a kli shemalachta le'isr. So if it would just be a kli shemalachta le'isr, he would be able to move it l'tzarech gufa and tzarech mekayma. He could move it to use, or...
You're saying there's a case of a kli that is also is muktzah because of 2 reasons: because of chesed kiss and also because of melacha leisur. So right.
In that case, you will not have the heter to move it l'tzarech gufa tzarech mekayma, because since it's a muktzah machmas chasar and kiss, it cannot be moved even l'tzarech gufa tzarech mekayma.
Okay.
Now it's just good to know before we even start with our case of the hearing aid, the Mishnah Berurah holds a very good trick for muktzah that everyone should remember.
Talking about implants and hearing aids. So now the Mishnah Berurah says the what? Mishnah Berurah says,
before we start that, the Mishnah Berurah holds a very good, important piece of information to know regarding muktzah. What do you do? Sometimes you have a muktzah that is you want to move. For example, a person left outside a muktzah, and that muktzah is very valuable to him, and he doesn't need it. It's not, let's say it's even if it's a kli shemalachta le'isr, a person leaves outside, let's say, he leaves his expensive camera, okay? It's expensive camera, and it's about to rain. It's Shabbos, he looks outside on his porch, and it's about to rain. So he doesn't need the camera for anything, and he doesn't need the place where the camera is. So he can't move that camera. So what should he do? It's an expensive camera. It's $5,000. What should he do? How can he get the camera away that the rain shouldn't destroy the camera? So the Mishnah Berurah holds that you are allowed to move muktzah in a way that's we call tiltal begufay, which means you move it in a way that's not tiltal begufay. You move it with your body. That's what it means. Move it with your body. A tiltal begufay means that you're moving it in a way that it's not a normal way to move it. For example, let's say you'd have the camera, and the camera has, let's say, a strap. So you go outside, let's say you pick it up with your mouth, and you bring it inside. Do it in a funny way. Some say could be with an elbow.
You mean a strange way you're allowed to move it?
A strange way you're allowed to move it, right?
Says the a strange way can outside to the camera. Inside. Okay.
The Chazon Ish doesn't agree with the Mishnah Berurah, but we pass like the Mishnah Berurah paskins that any muktzah could always be moved, what we call tiltal begufay, to be moved in a way that's not the normal way of moving it. Now, some say that to just kick it with your foot is not called enough of a change to move it. So the best thing is to move it in a way that's really funny. Pick it up with your mouth, could be with the back of your hand, or in a way that's really very not normal. And that's always something very important to keep in mind if a person is ever in a situation.
I'm trying to solve the hearing issue. 1 second. Because I can continue, but it's going to be hard. So I'm trying to solve it. 1 minute. I join now again from my phone. Can you pin the mail? Okay. Can you see me now?
I see you. Yeah, you hear me?
Can you see me?
But I don't know if you
I
see
see
me
you,
or
yes.
not.
I see you, yes. Yeah, I see you.
Okay, so now he needs to pin me. He needs to pin me.
I have to pin you?
No, Rabbi Kikun needs to pin me, so I'll be the large screen so everyone can see me. But I hear you a lot better now. It's a different level. Where's Rabbi Kikun? Rabbi Kikun? I don't know if he sees me now. I am the large screen now? Okay, perfect. So Abuda, can you go ahead?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's so the Mishnah Berurah says again that if a person is ever in a situation where he doesn't know if something's muktzah or not, he could always move the muktzah in a funny way, and that'll be a way for him to move the muktzah on Shabbos. It's a good thing to keep in mind. Okay, so let's discuss now, is a implant or hearing aid, is it muktzah? You hear me?
Yeah. I hear you. Okay, go ahead. What?
Is it implant or hearing aid, is it considered muktzah? And how do we treat that on Shabbos? Well, I saw some poskim actually want to debate that could be a hearing aid and an implant is not muktzah at all. It's not muktzah at all. Why shouldn't it be muktzah at all? The same way, right? Even though an implant or a hearing aid is a machine, and it works on batteries, and the batteries make it work. And in Shabbos, you're not allowed to make machines work, right? However, there's a machlokes. Is a person allowed to wear a watch in Shabbos? Is a watch considered muktzah? Is a watch muktzah? So most poskim hold, including Rabbi Moshe Feinstein of Shlomo Zalman, that a watch is not muktzah. Why isn't a watch muktzah? Because a watch, you one time put in a battery, you set the watch.
1 second. So watch is muktzah. It's not muktzah.
Not muktzah. Why not? Why not? Because a watch.
Why?
Because a watch, you one time put in a battery, you set it up once, and then it could run for years. For years, it could run. So we look at that kli, that what's the primary use of the kli? What's the main use of the kli? The main use of the kli is just to tell time. Telling time is not something that's usher. It's just telling time. It's not usher. It's usher to set up a watch, but it's not usher to tell time. So therefore, a watch we consider a kli is not muktzah at all. It's what we call a kli shemalachta laheter. It's like a spoon and a knife. It's not muktzah because it's used.
Wait, someone is talking. Someone is talking.
Website would be helpful in West Phoenix. He requested that and we're contacting him. So I just wanted to give you that example.
Mute everyone. You to mute everyone besides for me.
Rabbi Freeman, are you asking the question? Rabbi Yehuda?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you said that a watch is not a muktzah at all.
Why? Because since its main use is heter, its main use is just to tell time, it's not muktzah. Even though once in a while, every few years, you have to set it up, but it's insignificant to the majority of the use. The main use is heter. So someone would debate and say a hearing aid is the same thing. A hearing aid, most of the time, a person, all he does is he keeps it on his head and he hears it. When he sets it up, he's doing isser. But does that make it a kli shemalachta isser? Maybe not. Most poskim, however, will say that's not the case. Most poskim will say.
Wait, I have a question. I asked a question. You said that a watch, it's not a problem. Why? Because it says time. It says time is not also on Shabbos. But hearing aids or implant, when you talk, you make the machine work. Who said that's not a problem on Shabbos?
That's a different.
It's not the same. Hearing aids, implant is not the same as watch.
But first of all, when the person makes it work, it's not you, it's me. It's the person talking to you. It's not you, it's me, right? I'm making it work, not you.
So I actually have a question.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Okay, so go ahead.
But
So with the watch example, what if you had to reset it for daylight savings time on Shabbos?
that would be usher. That would be usher. You can't reset it. I'm just saying that the watch is considered a heter because usually, most of the time, it's used for the purpose of heter. It's used for something that's mutter. Okay. However, most poskim will disagree. Most poskim will say that a hearing aid and an implant is something that's muktzah, because a hearing aid and an implant is something that's person is constantly changing or fixing, is changing settings, changing batteries. It's not like a watch which is put in one time and lasts for 10 years. It's more like, for example, a fan. You know a fan? Right? A fan that goes round and round. So that, or Moshe Feinstein writes, it is usher. Even though a fan, a person could plug it in and it could go for days, right? But a fan, a person plugs it in, he plugs it out, he presses the different settings, he moves it for himself. So it's more than just a kli that's moving by itself. It's a kli that's made to continuously change, engage, and to be involved in Isser. And so too, a hearing aid is something which is continuously, a person's always playing with it, higher, lower, putting in batteries, taking out batteries. It's a kli that's continuously being used for Isser. and therefore it will be considered muktzah. Now let me ask you a question. Now that we know the three categories of muktzah, which category does it go into? Is it a kli shemalachta le'isser? Is it muktzah machmas gufay? Or is it muktzah machmas chasar and kiss? We'll take a vote.
1 second. I'm going to ask them. Okay, that will be you that continue.
What does everyone say? Which one is it? Any opinions? No opinions?
I'm using my phone for Zoom, so it's very limited. I can't see everyone. I'm sure somebody tries to answer, but I can't see. So I guess we should...
Okay, so it's definitely not a muktzah machmas gufay, right? The second category for sure not is, because it's not a stone that's not used for anything. It's for sure useful, right? It's for sure a kli. It's something that's useful, something that's used. So the question really is it a kli shemalachta le'isser, or is it muktzah machmas chasar and kiss? Is it something that's so special and unique that a person can say, I only use it for a very specific item, and it's like the knife of a moil, and therefore it will be aser. Now there's a big difference in the two. The difference is going to be that even if you say it is muktzah, could you move it? Can I move it now if I need it?
Well, you say there's a big nafkamina. Why? Because if it's muktzah because it's melacha le'isur,
so you could
then
move
what?
it. Then you can move it if you ever need it. You could take it, you put it on your head. I need it. That's called needing it. You can put it on my head, right? And then when I don't need it, if it's in my way, I can move it. You essentially, any person who's hard of hearing, for him, that's always called tzarech gufay. I need the hearing aid. If I need the hearing aid, I can move it. But if it's a muktzah machmas chasar and kiss, if it's a muktzah that's very valuable, you can't even move it, even if you need it. So that would be a big problem.
I want to say, I'm trying to say that I don't think it's muktzah from chesed kiss, because implant is something we use every single day. It's not something on special occasion. Yes, it's an expensive thing. It's like a car, expensive car. Because it's expensive, it's that category? No, it's something you use every day.
You're saying a very good svara. So it's not 100% clear. The Rishonim, when they try to define what's called a muktzah machzor and kiss, they give you a few different categories. They say, number one is it's very expensive. It's very valuable, number one. Number two is you don't use it for anything else besides for what it's made for. Number three, you keep it in
I want to say second is if you use it for one specific purpose only. You don't use that kli for a few things. This, don't take advantage of it. It's something very valuable that you only use it for one thing. That's right. Second category. Second rule to go into that category. And the third?
Definition. Another definition is that it has its own place. You keep it in its own place. You don't just keep it hanging around. Something that's valuable, you don't keep it on the kitchen table, right? You don't just let the kids play with it. It has its own place. And a fourth category is, like Yehuda spoke out, is something that's used occasionally. It's occasionally used. It's not something that's always being used. It's something which is occasionally used. Now, it's a big discussion. Do you need all these rules? Do you need some of them? Which ones make a chasar and kiss? Which one don't make a chasar and kiss? There's a big machlokes. But many paiskim, including the Shevet Levi, I believe, Rabbi Vosner, he said like Yehuda, is that since a hearing aid is always being used, a person's always using it, even though it's very expensive, even though it's $20,000. But if it's always being used, it will not go into the category of Muktzah, Machmas, Chasar, and Kiss. So if it doesn't go into the category of Muktzah, Machmas, Chasar, and Kiss, so then you would be able to use it in two ways. Number one is if you need it. You're putting it on.
So we moved it. Well, what you said, so it's not a category of Ches and Kiss.
So it's Klisha
So we
Malachta
changed it to the first category of which category?
Klisha Malachta Le'Isser. And a Klisha Malachta Le'Isser you could use if you need it. I need to use it, so I need to use it, right? If I need to put on my hearing aid, I need to take it off, right? I don't want to sleep with it, let's say. That's called, if you don't want to sleep with it, that's called not tzarech gufa, that's called tzarech mekaymai. I don't want it on my head. I don't want it here. It's bothering me. That's tzarech mekaymai. I don't want it where it is. So then you would be able to move the hearing aid in many different cases. I want to just, running out of time a little bit, I just want to bring up two more points, and we're going to get into this in the next Shem Hashem more and more in detail. How about, all this is discussing, so let's say for the person himself, if you need the hearing aid to put on, so you want to put on your hearing aid. Let's say someone else in your house, you tell somebody, go get me my implant, I want to put it on. I want to put it on. So it's not for him, it's for somebody else. Number one. Let's say a person is, there's another debate I want to discuss next time, is that if a person, let's say, has a medical device, for example, let's say a person is a diabetic, okay? He's a diabetic, and he has to go ahead and he has, let's say, electronic sensor, or he has different electronic things that he needs to use on Shabbos, and he has to use them. It's pekuach nefesh. He has to use them. So now there's a debate, which we'll discuss next time, is that once we say that a person needs to use this on Shabbos, and he's allowed to use it on Shabbos. Why is he allowed to use it? Because pekuach nefesh, he's allowed to use it. So could be it's not muktzah at all. Even if it's a kli shemalachta le'isser, even though if it's a kli which is typically used for isser, but since the Torah says you're allowed to use it because a person needs it for his medical health, so it's not muktzah because it's a mutter for him to use it, right? For example, you have a Hatzalah member. He has a radio, a walkie-talkie. So a walkie-talkie is a kli shemalachta le'isser. It's muktzah. It's a kli shemalachta le'isser. On the other hand, it's true it's a kli shemalachta le'isser, but a Hatzalah man is allowed to use his radio on Shabbos because pikuach nefesh, the rule of pikuach nefesh is that he's allowed to use it on Shabbos. So now how do we view this radio? Is it muktzah because a kli shemalachta le'isser? Is it called a kli that's made for isser? Or maybe it's not muktzah at all because the Torah says that you're allowed to be machal Shabbos for pikuach nefesh. And if you're allowed to be machal Shabbos for pikuach nefesh, so it's not muktzah. And therefore, it's like any other kli. It's like a fork and a knife, which you're allowed to use on Shabbos, and it's not muktzah. So where does this play? We'll discuss this next time. I just want to say, where does this play a role in hearing aids? So this will play a role in hearing aids. Let's say a person, today we established that a hearing aid or an implant is a kli shemalachta le'isser, and he's allowed to go ahead and put it on his ear or take it off when he needs it.
One second. I just want to explain. He says, I want to establish that hearing aids and implants are in the category of kli that melachta is that's the category. Clear? And you're allowed to use it on Shabbos because it's a need for gufo. You need the implant and the hearing aid, you need it, and you're allowed to move it too because of the gufo or because of the space. If you need a space here, like when you go to sleep, or when you want to relax and it's not comfortable for you, you need a space on your ear, you need a space, so you're allowed to move it. That's in the category of kli that is melachte for isser. That's what I want to establish today. Clear, remember? Okay.
But how about if a person leaves his implant in the middle of the kitchen table and he doesn't need it and he's not even home? and someone else wants to move it, or you want to move it, just because you don't need the place, you don't need the implant, you don't like the way it looks. So l'chayra, it should be usher. Because even a klisha malachta le'isser could only be moved if you need the place or if you need the actual chayfetz. However, if you want to argue and say that could be an implant is similar to Hatzala walkie-talkie, because a person who's hard of hearing, he must have his hearing device. We'll talk about that later. But if you argue and say that on Shabbos he must have this klisha malachta le'isser, he must have it. So it could be the hearing device is not even called muktzah at all.
Wait, you try to say that implant hearing aid might be pikuach nefesh? No.
No, even if it's not pikuach nefesh, but if it's something that halacha lets him use, it's something that halacha says that even if it's muktzah, we allow you to use it. For whatever reason, if halacha allows you to use it, so then halacha will say, since halacha allows you to use it, it is not considered a muktzah at all. It's called a klisha malachta laheter. It's something which is mutter. That's what we will discuss next time. I just want to pick out one more point, which is a very important point, then we'll end there, is we're all talking about today is a working implant, a working hearing aid, where the battery is still going. So then we consider it a klisha malachta le'isser. Or we'll consider it, let's say, even if you want to say it's a critical part for a deaf person, we'll say it's not even muktzah, it's a klisha malachta leheter. But the second the implant stops working, if the battery dies, so which category does it go into now? It goes into the second category. It's called muktzah machmas gufay, which means it has no use at all. It's like a piece of a rock. It's a piece of stone which has no use. It's not doing anything. It's just a piece of plastic. And that will for sure be muktzah, because that you're going to do it. It's like a rock, has no use, and that cannot be moved even with tzarech gufay and even tzarech mekaymai. So we'll discuss in later shiurim what to do in such a case. Last time we spoke, if you're hearing it stops on Shabbos, how to carry. So what do you do for muktzah? If you're hearing it stops on Shabbos, now you have a muktzah, a very strong muktzah, muktzah machmas gufay, and you can't move it for any reason. So what would be the solution for that? We'll discuss Mitzvah Shem next time.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? Any questions?
I set up in advance the headphones connect so I can hear you better.
Any questions we have? Yehuda, any questions?
Yeah, I'm asking. Anybody has questions?
Okay.
Everyone is unmuted. You can talk if you have any questions. Nothing, Abuda, you're very clear.
Okay.
Excellent, Abuda, it's very clear.
Thank you very much.
Shkoyach.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I look forward to next time.
Jim.
Thank you, Yehuda.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.